As you know, I can be relatively hard on elected GOP officials, and that's because most of them suck. But when we get one of the good ones on, we are proud to introduce them to you. And one of the few good ones that I like in Washington, D.C. is joining me now, Senator Mike Lee, a man outnumbered out there in Washington, D.C. Senator, first of all, what is the One Agency Act bill?
It's pure awesomeness is what it is. The whole idea behind this is to take our two-headed monster antitrust enforcement personnel and put it into a single body. In other words, consolidate antitrust enforcement authority into the U.S. Department of Justice. We have, for going on a century now, relied on two completely different tracks for enforcing antitrust law. You've got the Federal Trade Commission and you've got the Department of Justice. It's created a problem because in many instances, who enforces the laws may be determined by something as arbitrary and capricious as a coin toss. This too has just resulted in a lack of focus and a duplication of efforts that creates other problems. So the One Agency Act is all about bringing this all back in under one house, which is where it should be.
Do you think there's a chance you could actually get some Democrat backing for this? Because that sounds like the kind of thing, I mean, there's not a whole lot that joins us together anymore. I talk about that all the time, but that sounds like the kind of thing I would assume even Democrats can get behind.
It should be. And I'll tell you, there's nothing distinctively Republican or Democratic about this. It's not distinctively liberal or conservative. And in fact, the Democrats should like this effort for the simple reason that they're in power right now. And if what they want is more accountability within antitrust enforcement agencies, then they ought to want it to be in one agency rather than two. Remember, the Attorney General of the United States is a presidential appointee, and after being confirmed by the United States Senate, still serves at the pleasure of the president. So at any given moment, the president has the power to fire that person and the other individuals who work under that person. The Democrats should like that. They shouldn't fear it.
Senator, what role should the GOP play now? I'm talking specifically about GOP senators when it comes to Joe Biden's nominees. On one hand, as predicted, they're as radical can be. On the other, we lost, and there's a certain amount of just having to sit there and eat that crab sandwich. What should the GOP do? Stop them all, let them all through, and say, screw it? What's the appropriate role?
And it requires a careful balancing test. You've got to draw a lot of lines in there. And as one of my law professors, Fred Geddix, once put it, when you're in that kind of position where you have to make a judgment call, you draw the line at 7. Now, where the line 7 is up to individual interpretation. That's what makes it tough. But in my case, I try to look at each Biden administration nominee, requires Senate confirmation, not necessarily on the basis of whether I would have chosen them or whether I would have recommended them to a Republican president if we had a Republican president in office, but rather as compared to who else we might get. And in some cases, that results in me voting to confirm a nominee. In others, it results in a no vote.
Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.